Hello YouTube, we are back after our, I would argue, like, Enfield hiatus of 3 months, other than the video I made last week, which, by the way, I'm right. There is no chance the game is not coming out in the next month. Copium, but let me cook. Yeah, so we are here to watch another Enfield video, and Enfield is not out at the moment, but our boy Tobo, Tobo. Our boy Tobo has made a video, as you can probably see. The video is, you are the problem with Arknights Endfield's dodge. Now, I would like to argue I'm probably one of the more vocal people on the dodges, where dodging isn't inherently bad, but it is really poorly executed, would be a better way to say it. I still think the dodging is inherently good, but it is flawed, and they need to address it being flawed, alright? We'll get into it during the video, because I'm sure he is going to mention times and moments where, like, you know, maybe you think it's a problem, and he'll probably explain his side of the piece, and I'll say my side, right? So, yeah, let's watch this. As always, please go like on Tobo's side of things, go subscribe to Tobo, alright? It will be, this video is 300 dislikes, Kurota engines in. Yeah, I'll link the video also in the description, and speaking of description, join the Discord, it will be in there too, and like my video, you know, keep the positivity going around. Also, let me know what you think in the comments too. So without further ado, we're gonna watch this. It's a bit of a longer one at 24 minutes, 23 and a half. So yeah, lock in. It's gonna be a good one. Album.
The power of language comes from rules and restraints, not from arbitrary imagination. Only by imposing constraints upon yourself can you make progress in the incantation arts.
Boris?
3 months ago, I dropped a nuclear bomb on the Arknights Endfield community titled The Death Knell of Gacha Games, in which...
Give him credit. This video went nuts. 200k views. We're on a beta. Oh, we love to see it.
I decried their homogenization in the name of appealing to the masses, complete with
thank
deranged
you,
yelling at
Silva.
said masses.
Don't f***ing lie to me!
While everyone understands the need for gacha games to make money, the vast majority of people agree the combat is far too disconnected from the base, that Genshin-like homogeneity would be a disaster, and that Hypergryph need to be true to their roots. However, the universal divide was the call to remove the dodge. Some agreed with removing it, some said just make it more strategic, some said remove the iframes, some said tie it to a factory item, and this guy decided I'm gay.
Dude, YouTube in a fucking nutshell, man. Ay. Oh my god. Biggest sin? Oh, he released it during Pride Month. He's good. Chat, he's good. Oh my god.
But after being posted to Bilibili, it then spread further into other forums and became so divisive that some of those forums started arguing about the dodge button and whether the game should lean more into strategy or action, to the point where one content creator even made a response video because those arguments were getting out of hand. So, having briefly divided the community into warring factions, I will now attempt to do it again. I will now explain why the dodge button is a mistake beyond simply pointing a finger at those who want to keep it. In order to do that, we first need to look at how a few of the criticisms of combat in the technical test were addressed in the beta. Not all of them, just the relevant ones. This will be brief. The most common complaint was the slow pace and long downtime, which was a...
They need to bring this back, by the way. If they want to go back towards the strategy route...
This will be brief.
It is so integral to bring back the slow motion real-time kind of, like, skill effects. But with that being said, with the amount of rework they've done to this game, it's just not going to be possible. Or if it is, they have to rework so much and delay it yet again. And from what I know behind closed doors, which is virtually nothing, I'm not going to pretend I do. I think this game is going to be out within 60 days. Like, I think August 30th is either going to be a huge beta or a release of the full game, okay? So yeah, it's a shame this won't come back, but it was just bad execution, but they should have kept it and really refined it instead of adding a dodge. Did you get alpha players? I didn't play the alpha, I will say that. I never played the alpha. I was a beta-only player, and I did watch alpha content, but not, obviously, watching and playing are two entirely different things. A lot of people believe watching gives them enough of an idea to have have a bit of a take on dodging, which is fine. But when you feel it, it is entirely different. Okay, let's just say that. Rumors has another beta coming up. I am Rumors.
It was the slow pace and long downtime, which was addressed by what is essentially a total rework of the combat loop. Two of the most noticeable changes are the bullet time targeting being removed in favor of a lock-on system, and healing items being used automatically with per-operator cooldowns instead of having to bring up a sub-menu to choose who to heal. Previously, it was only limited by one operator at a time getting the heal with one cooldown for the squad, but now that it's automatic per operator, there's a limited number of charges on it while in battle. Perhaps the most important change, though, is the way skills work. That is, instead of each skill having an individual cooldown with the set number of uses required to charge your ultimate, skills now have no cooldowns at all and instead use a shared bar of SP, and you have to decide which character gets to use the SP you have. there is also the addition of combo skills, and being able to trigger each operator's combo skill is the key to building good teams and the easiest way to get a general idea of how
And what I will say as well with this combat skills, I'll let him finish real quick.
someone is meant to be used.
Yeah, gives you an idea how someone to when you synergize them together and make really cool team comps. I will say the skill combos are such a great foundation to build this strategy idea, but again, with the dodging and with the removal of the slow-mo mechanics and the manual inputs for, say, healing and ultimates and that kind of thing, it feels like it's just adding a mechanic to Genshin, right? And that's probably the biggest crime this game is doing. The best thing Arknights has done was not to remove the dodge entirely, but make dodge as limited as possible, or only just a dodge at different moment, not spamming where you take possible for that. Yeah, it's a problem because what Tobo will say in the next part. Yeah, exactly. Well, again, don't want to jump the gun, so we're talking about what's in front of us. But my issue with the dodging was its proc timing was so flawed, and if you don't know what I mean, I'm referring to like the red flash. It was varying from so many characters and did not outright make sense if you were kind of... The best way to explain this is you were kind of screwed. It would go against you if you paid attention to the game warning mechanics and the proc mechanics, the red flash and the audio cue. You had to kind of ignore that to get good at the dodging mechanic, which for me was annoying as shit. All right, I'll just say that right now.
Plus, there was the issue of guaranteed attacks, which was addressed with the dodge button. Combine all these changes and the pacing of combat feels much faster. Right, now, where can we see how players felt about the... Oh. Players were clearly happy with some changes, considering all the praise and comparing it to the tech test, but nonetheless they were still not satisfied with the dodge, and they were not satisfied with the rate of SP generation. But unfortunately, much as they might insist otherwise, these complaints about dodges and SP are misguided, because dodging is not the root cause of the issue.
I will also say I was misguided on SP originally, okay? So you see the 3 bars here? These are your skill points. Honkai Star, you get 5 basic and like that kind of thing. I was misguided because I thought it was insanely slow and the pace for it was terrible. And the fact that it's kind of gearing more towards wanting to be an ARPG versus actually being a slight stratagem, like strategy, like attack game. I was misguided to think that it was very slow. There is gear in the game that lets you generate SP faster and on kills also generate more. So it works amazing when there's multiple enemies, which I was very wrong about. I condemned it off rip. But I will still say I have a huge critique with it in boss fights and one-on-ones because you kind of lose that generation buff with not being able to kill mobs around to kind of regen. I will say that is something that still bothers me, and I guess we'll see in the next beta/release the way they're going to go with that.
It is virtually impossible to discuss dodging in video games without someone at some point bringing up Dark Souls, and endless comparisons to Souls-likes can get rather tiring. But in our case, we have good reason to. Lowlight, the creator of Arknights himself, is known to be a huge fan of Elden Ring, and he has already confirmed the existence of references to it in Endfield. So let's examine the role of dodging in Endfield by first seeing what we can learn from Elden Ring. From Software are known for their enemy and boss designs for a reason. Enemies hit hard and you are expected to die repeatedly. The game provides you with several ways to mitigate that damage. Armor and shields are abundant, vigor increases your HP, etc. However, the ultimate form of damage mitigation would of course be total invincibility, and oh look, how convenient. Dodge rolls provide an accessible and unlimited supply of short windows of invincibility known as iframes.
Yes, brother.
However, there are 2 important things to remember here. Firstly, attacking and dodging both consume a set amount of stamina. You must spend the same resource both to deal and avoid damage.
Some SP regen when you
in essence, you
get the rogue SP yeah, exactly. There's probably ways around that. I still don't know.
As a result,
I'm saying one-on-one fights.
Restrain yourself from dodging or attacking impulsively because the game is designed from the ground up to punish you for doing so. Delayed attacks and frame traps teach you to dodge sparingly and with intention, and one of the key challenges presented by the fast pacing of endgame bosses is pushing the limits of your stamina management. The result is a flow state where every action is a carefully considered commitment. If you were able to cancel attacking and dodging animations, that commitment would disappear and the game's skill expression would become a matter of optimizing those animation cancels.
So I have somewhat of a question more than I do actually a refute, okay? I love Dark Souls dodging. I love Elden Ring dodging. Sekiro powering, goated, that kind of thing. But the one thing I'm questioning is the big complaint a lot of base people have with Arknights Endfield was its whole degree of pushing towards being a generic ARPG gacha wannabe like a Wuwa and a Genshin. But if this is the route we want to take with a Dark Souls, Elden Ring-esque approach to the dodging, just being slightly more punishing, it's like, to want to push that implementation on it, we're also kind of pushing the notion of wanting it to be more ARPG-esque, no? Versus actually wanting to revert the strategy. I understand what's done is done. We have to accept this game's not going to be a strategy in the slightest, all right? It's going to have a slight tweak to it to be strategy-esque, but it's not going to be the RTS that it originally sold itself as. So I guess, like, you take the good and the bad, and this is probably the best situation we can get out of it wanting to be that genre that we don't want it to be. But I feel like, again, like, the issue wasn't necessarily the timing of it. It's the jankiness of of that missing that iframe, obviously. Oh, it has iframes, but like missing that window when you get the red proc and the audio proc just being outright janked. You explain, but no, exactly right. I'm just saying what I'm saying was on my mind, because if I don't say it now, I'm going to forget.
That might be okay in other games when the creators intend it, but a fundamental part of Elden Ring's identity is not just difficulty, but discipline. And without the risk and reward created by the commitment of your actions, that identity would be compromised. It is precisely because the game presents you with such challenges that you are rewarded with those moments of unbridled ecstasy in overcoming them.
Come on. Yes! Let's fucking go!
Let's fucking go!
Holy shit!
Wait, is that his own reaction to beating it? Wait, that's actually so awesome. He has his own Melania there, dude?
What we've learned from Elden Ring with combat in Arknights Endfield. While the goal of an attack in Elden Ring is purely to deal damage, in Endfield some of the first things the game teaches you in the tutorials are that your basic attacks deal very little damage compared to skills, skill points regenerate very slowly, and the last hit in your basic attack sequence, the final strike, will restore SP. The game is telling us that...
And okay, he's gonna say it. I'm sure he addresses this, but I need to say it right now before I forget. That final strike buff is such a scam, okay? When you were doing a 1, 2, 3, 4 combo in the final strike, the moment you dodge or cancel, it's gone and reset to 1. It's not like you can continue to a certain degree and it's 4 hits statically. With the way Final Strike is kind of built and depended on, I'm just going to outright say it, I hate it. The Final Strike ability to regen SP, for me, will always be a problem unless they have some way to get around the obscenely long window of actually pushing out without dodging your attack set. Because the moment there's a dodge, parry, or like you get any level of pushback, you have to reset this like 5-second window you have to build to get that slight little boost of SP regen. Big gripe of mine, I will say that. Huge gripe of mine, okay?
SP purposefully regenerates slowly because it's your job as the player to obtain more of it. In other words, basic attacks are not meant purely for dealing damage, they are primarily a step in the process of dealing damage. You use basic attacks to get SP with the final strike, which you then use to cast a skill, which deals considerably more damage, which then triggers a chain of combo skills. You get the picture. Several combo skills are also triggered by a final strike, which is why you don't get SP from each individual normal attack, because it would make those combo skills very inefficient compared to those that aren't. Now, if you only have 1 bar of SP and you use it on a random skill that doesn't enable any combos or elemental inflictions, you'll then be left without much to do besides going and getting more SP.
Yes.
Consider also the example of Aviwenna. Her combo skill and her ultimate will place thunderbolts in the ground, and then with her battle skill, she retrieves those thunderbolts, dealing electric damage to everything in their path. But if you just use the skill aimlessly, all she does is a little jump and spin, which totally wastes the SP. Furthermore, consider...
Not gonna lie, that was me as fuck for like the first 3 hours. Oh man, until I got sat down and had like the fucking Oppenheimer conversation with Renegade, that was me for a little bit, boys. I'm caught, I'll be honest.
The technical test's bullet time targeting, where every single skill cast forced you to make a decision because it was a 2-step process of selecting a skill and deciding a direction. You can see the pattern in what both versions of the game are asking of you. Endfield is trying to discourage carelessness while encouraging discipline and intent. And you can see that design goal throughout the game. The limit on the number of zipline towers you can have in a given region is meant to encourage you to be intentional with where you place them instead of just spamming them everywhere. Even the gacha system
I also think it's partially because of the fact this game is run on mobiles, and mobile can only survive so much, right? That's my 2 cents. I don't think he's wrong either, though. I'm just saying this was probably a byproduct of it. I'm not disagreeing with him.
Encourages you from just randomly pulling for no reason. Recall how Elden Ring punishes the player for pressing buttons impulsively. Using the same resource both to deal and avoid damage,
I see a lot of takes on that.
together to set a deliberate pace. But Enfield's design contradicts itself. It wants you to be disciplined and intentional while simultaneously allowing you to just dodge at will. Notice how the resources for dealing and avoiding damage are separated. In order to get the resource for dealing damage, SP, you need to get a final strike. Doing so often means you will need to take damage. There is a reason one of the main purposes of the factory is to produce healing items, and also that the main stat on every single piece of gear is defense, which in Enfield means final damage reduction. Meanwhile, your resource for avoiding damage is stamina. Dodging will consume 1 bar of stamina, and the game starts you off with 2. But once you've collected all the Aetherium, that increases to 6, and at that point you don't even need to think of it as a resource anymore, because in practice you just never run out of stamina to dodge. Which consequently means players do not have any expectation of restraint with the dodge button, nor of being willing to take damage. And in addition to that, every single attack and skill animation will be cancelled by dodging. The sole exception is Gilberta's Gravity Well, which is the only battle skill in the game that is in effect over a fixed duration, as opposed to a single instance of damage or
Goated skill, by the way. Oh, it's so fun.
Or an instantly applied buff. All of this combined tells us that Enfield's dodge exists in direct contradiction to the discipline and intentionality the game is trying to encourage.
Tobo, I love you. Nail on the head has been hit. Oh, man. Exactly. My point 5 minutes ago is exactly just, yeah, they need to figure out which direction they want to go in, right? They can be an ARPG, that is fine. They can be a gacha ARPG. They can also be stratagem, but they want to be both. And because of that, the mechanics get so caught in the crossfire, dude. Salvageable. Oh no, it's 100% salvageable. I'm not saying it's cooked. I'm just saying that with the amount of time we have left till supposed release, it's concerning, right? Because again, what I played and what I spoke with other creators and what they played were all in unanimous agreement. It feels slow, but that is the product of it trying to be 2 genres at once, where one is kind of medium paced and one is fast paced, and the contradictory alignments of stamina, skill points, combos, like basic attack doing 0 damage, it all constantly fights against each other to give you this, like, just stitched together, like, patchwork kind of product, right? And no one really wants that. So, again, exactly the concerns, or not concerns, the complaints. I had blood on the same wagon. I love my boy. We love Tobo.
It may well be possible to adjust it to complement their intended design goal, but if you are a beta tester who looked at the feedback section, you will have seen that in reality, the vast majority of players were asking for the opposite. More iframes, more SP, more rewarding, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, because they wanted the Genshin, because it's what we know.
The astute observers among you might have figured out where this is going, but bear with me here, because remember, dodging is not the root cause of the issue. To take a very brief detour and give necessary context for an example I'm about to use, in November, Arknights tried an experimental co-op game mode. Unfortunately, it took place a couple of weeks after the release of Wishadel, who was given the most ridiculous kit Hypergryph have ever made. Fans of Wishadel were naturally going to
Wishadel IS5 runs.
New win button, and so most of my co-op games consisted of my teammates deploying her, killing everything in sight, leaving absolutely nothing for me to do but sit on my ass and wait for it to be over, because leaving early would put me on a matchmaking cooldown. To put it in other words, I had no agency. My teammates' use of Wishadel was preventing me from taking any action, and it was absolutely fucking miserable. So I decided to take matters into my own hands. Ark is an operator who deals a fixed amount of physical damage to an allied unit in return for a hefty buff, but Wishadel doesn't have enough defense to tank it. So I brought him to every game and immediately team-killed every Wishadel I came across so that I could actually enjoy playing the co-op mode together with my teammates. So numerous were my Ark team kills that I decided to have a bit of fun with it by writing a song.
I'm taking matters into my own hands. This is my villain Ark. If none of you will let me play the game, I'll keep deploying Ark behind your dear beloved waifu Wishadel before I cast durian-flavored Stimpak resolutely up her ass.
Plenty of people were delighted with my mischievous musical merriment, including some Wishadel users themselves, as opposed to the Arknights subreddit, which banned me for 4 entire months.
Can we keep it a buck? Any subreddit ever is just the most echo chambery, painful, teeth-pulling experience to even just read. Brother, the bravery to put that in there is unmatched. I already, oh man. I got a blacklist Reddit from my computer, so I remember him right now.
But while I will freely admit that yes, I was being a little bit insensitive, there were some comments on both the video and the Reddit post which elucidated a common point of view among those who were offended by it. Nearly all of them said something along the lines of, what if I don't care about the event? What if I want to just get the rewards and be done with it? It didn't matter to them that this was a cooperative game mode, and
this also is a fair viewpoint. Like, I think we have to accept, like, there are some people who don't want to do the grind, and when they, you know, put reward behind a certain wall that you have to play, and other people have to be involved, I get it. I get it to a degree. I disagree with that being the process of just having a most insanely OP character in the game, WK everything, but that's not my prerogative, right? I want to play it and feel the fun of playing with friends, whereas other people just want to get the rewards, get the fuck out, and just have the most mediocre experience ever, right?
No matter how clearly it was explained to them that their use of Wishadel was preventing me from using anyone, it just fell on deaf ears. They didn't even enjoy the game, they just wanted the rewards that came after it, with zero consideration of how their actions might affect their teammates' experience. Now think about some of the complaints from the beta for a moment. Remember all those seemingly random requests for open world mechanics like wall climbing and grappling hooks and stuff? They must be aware that a major part of the game is relaying power and building your own zip lines, right? The inspiration from Death Stranding should be pretty obvious.
Yeah, and again, like, the biggest concern we have, right? The biggest possible concern we can have with this is, are they going to listen to the wide populace, like the mass populace of, we want this game to be like every other game ever, or are they going to take that chance? I don't think they're going to take that chance, and it fucking sucks. But there's a chance. There is a legitimate chance they're going to just cram all of those reviews. But from what I know, there was like creator content surveys you could do, also public ones that people at the game could do, people who watch the game all could do surveys. There is that much in the pipeline for community feedback that the true experience of what this game is wanting to be when it first was in its infancy, that's gone. This is just Death Stranding impact. And like, that's kind of where they're gearing towards, is with a little bit of an extra layer of combat. But again, we need to see what they kind of come up with in the next 60 or so days. Because we're going to get a big release date in the next 60 days. Whether it's an actual game or beta, I don't know, but there's going to be something.
You get to choose where the zip lines go, but you have to set them up yourself. You can't just have them without building them. But all those requests for random open world shit exist because whether you realize it or not, you're asking for exactly that. You want what the zip lines provide without the responsibility of building them yourself.
Yeah, you got to put them down first.
Mechanics like grappling hooks and wall running and flying or whatever simply wouldn't work. The game is fundamentally not designed like that. It would completely trivialize every single terrain obstacle, and you'd then be left wondering why the world feels so much smaller. Because that constraint is not an oversight or a shortcoming, it is deliberate. Looking back to those earlier complaints from the beta about SP and dodging, if you're performing final strikes, getting SP is very simple, or you can just use Arknight to make it easier. But the player is insisting on dodging even when the game is punishing them for doing so carelessly. And instead of making that connection and deciding not to dodge, they are just asking for more SP and easier dodges.
I think Perfect Dash should just give some SP instead of not consuming channel. It'd make it worth it to interrupt your autos to dodge. Again, I still think there is a medium here where we can kind of meet in the middle. I feel like Final Strike doesn't give enough SP shit, and I know that's kind of feeding into what he's outright saying is the problem. But I think there's got to be a middle ground here that even with the correct gear and everything it needs to be, with the way it's pulling in all directions, with the SP, the dodges, stuff we spoke about already, I think there's got to be some middle catch where everyone is happy or everyone is okay with what this is trying to do, right? Even with 2.4, map was so small because it means you have to skip everything. Well, that's what I mean as well. Like, with how big they're making the maps on Wuwa, I feel like this is a great example that you brought up. I think with the map sizes on Wuwa and everything like that, with the glide system, it doesn't matter how big it is. I have cleared, like, the diameter of every Honkai style map combined in like 2 minutes because of the gliding mechanic in Wuwa to just go from point A to point B, unlock the node that unlocks the map from being in the Dark Chasm state, and then going from point B to point C, doing the same thing by just flying. So it exactly fits into what he is saying. I 100% agree. Because like Arknights Endfield is completely about terraforming a world, essentially, on top of obviously the combat and pulling and everything like that. But like a big attraction base building, the whole map is your base. The whole world is going to be your base, right?
Pattern here. At first, the root of the problem appears to be that Gacha players do not want their actions to matter.
I mean, are we surprised? The biggest game of all time is Genshin Impact.
Except, that's not actually the full picture. Plenty of gacha gamers are perfectly willing to accept those design goals in other games. It's not as if they're all just unteachable and refuse to take responsibility for their actions in every part of life. But it seems to be near universal when they're playing gacha games. And
I would argue because people want gacha to be easy.
Gacha gamers have been taught their actions won't matter.
Yeah.
And therefore, gacha gamers have come to expect their actions will not matter.
Bro's cooking. That is 100% true. Gacha games with the daily login mechanic of needing to do dailies to get in-game currency per day to grind the characters you want over the course of a month or 2 months. You don't want that daily grind, or you don't want that loop to have any resistance other than the end game that you get. Keep in mind, end game in every gacha game is fucking shit. I mean that with all of my chest. But other than that, the games are all so brain dead easy because there is that constant need to log in every day, and that's the perception, right? Even though you don't have to do much to get your dailies on every day on every gacha game, it's still kind of what people just come to expect. 100% agree.
The complaints from beta
making everyone okay with anything is quite literally impossible. That's the problem. Yeah, exactly. But you can still make the people who believe in what the game should be and what the game's ideal was from the actual devs be. You know, you can still make that be achieved, right? And again, it can pay crazy dividends. Look at, for example, Expedition 33. Expedition 33 is a turn-based AA game in terms of funding and development cycle and everything. And it should not capture everybody. But because they were so confident in the idea they stuck to, it became the biggest game of the year with not much exaggeration. Like, GTA 6 isn't coming out this year, so, you know, it's that kind of thing. And there probably might be one or two, like, COD's always huge in the casual base, but with what Expedition 33 accomplished, it was because they stuck to their vision and knew, hey, people are going to get fucking tilted at this game having a bit of a skill gap towards the end of it. Or it even gets easier in the end of it if you build more classes and you get better at the building of the pictos and shit. They were so confident in their ability to execute that so well, even though it shouldn't have captured all of the players it did. Like, it still became the biggest game of the year. So if they stick to their guns and really refine what they had at the original alpha with the stop bullet time skill system and not adding in a lazy dodge to fix that in a panic, I honestly think that this could have been a massive game, man. It still will be a huge game, obviously, but it'll be watered down of what could have been. We'll be playing it with this dodge system, with the SP system, with it kind of being a pseudo ARPG stratagem, and we'll kind of be sitting there like, oh, what could have been, man? What could we actually have had? You know what I mean?
Bad move led to consequences.
Even though you haven't played it, your friends have welcome meal.
Yeah. The wrong move. Pulling impulsively is always a bad decision, but because the rate of guarantee carries over only Hoyo games, your expectations are that doing so doesn't usually make a difference.
Exactly, but there are also changes that are so big in industries that it does kind of format the industry going forward, right? Having banner carryover and like this static pity system of a 0.8% across everything, it's been so popularized because it is outright successful both to the player and to the devs that it's kind of the standard. Not that I necessarily agree with it, but the mass numbers will make us the minority of that opinion.
Setting up your own zip lines is a major part of the game, and not setting them up means you'll be walking everywhere, but your expectations are that of already having a plethora of locations to teleport to and of being able to fly around at will. Arknights Endfield's dodge button currently means deciding whether or not to dodge matters, but we saw earlier that players do not have any expectation of restraint because the stamina basically never runs out and the dodge lacks commitment. The commitment in the example of Elden Ring means you're punished for acting carelessly, and Elden Ring is known for that. Discipline is expected. Gacha games, on the other hand, are the opposite. They are known for having very few consequences. So when they introduce a consequence to something players aren't used to facing consequences for, it subverts their expectations of the game. The problem with gacha gamers is not a problem of commitment. The problem is that instead of reevaluating what their expectations are, they simply ask for the game to better match their expectations by removing those consequences. With Elden Ring, we saw...
I will also take it a step further, and this might actually be an old head deal. I also just think with the current climate of games, right? They are becoming easy. They're becoming quick fixes of dopamine release without an actual long-term goal. Because, like, you know, nowadays as well, story games that cost $120, 12 hours long. 5 years ago, they were 38, right? 38 was kind of 38 to 40 was like a benchmark for every $100 like single player game and everything like that. And they had a bit of reward to them, obviously. I am kind of the belief, just with the gaming, the gaming sphere as a whole is just kind of boiling down to becoming
Remember
easy.
What Death Stranding released back then? It has mixed review, and later on people now feels the game was actually masterpiece.
Yeah,
Same
exactly.
case
Hunter
with
was
Xenoblade
2020.
just because their infamous harem thing, but later on they profit on TK 2021. I'm sure Enfield will face that problem. Just take the time if the criticism was actually heard, especially what Tobo said, most of it.
Exactly. And again, I'm not saying Tobo is wrong. I'm just expanding on another reason why I think these games have been come to believe to also be so easy. Because gaming in general is getting easy, right? It's a harsh reality that people who want challenges in their game have to go out of the way to find the game with a challenge. Because even if you play these games, right? I played these games before, someone's going to say it. Even if you're playing all these games, even at the hardest difficulty, these games are nowhere what they used to be. In terms of just, like, games from the mid to late 2010s, hardest difficulty actually kind of had to lock the fuck in. I think it's gaming in general is kind of doing this. I wouldn't limit it to Gacha, but Gacha especially suffers from it the most because of the biggest game being Genshin, right? That's just the truth.
That restraints on your agency create risk and reward, but when my co-op teammate prevented me from contributing, we saw that zero agency just creates frustration. The problem with the technical test was not the lack of a dodge, the problem was the lack of any agency in reacting to those attacks. Dodging is not the only solution to that lack of agency, but it is a popular one, which is why there were so many calls to implement it. But now with the beta, the problem is that dodging exists in contradiction to the discipline and intent they want to encourage. There are various solutions you could try to make the dodge actually complement the combat system, like basic attacks slowly reducing your stamina and only recharging it once you stop attacking, but that wouldn't solve the issue because dodging would still interrupt your basic attack sequence, so you'd still need to take damage to get SP, so Gacha players would still complain. And if dodging didn't reset the sequence, combat would simply be reduced to a matter of optimizing animation cancels and memorizing optimal rotations, and the game's identity is compromised. The call to remove the dodge is not a call to bring back the guaranteed attack to the technical test, it is a call to change what that agency looks like. It doesn't need to be a reflexive dodge or parry button. Removing the dodge is an immediate way to force the player to reevaluate their expectations from the very start. Because if the controls and inputs do not let you dodge impulsively, then you have to reconsider how you're going to mitigate damage, which forces you to appropriately adjust your expectations of the game. That response video from Billy I mentioned at the start of the video makes a very good point related to this problem of expectations.
在我看来啊，相比于优化闪避的呼声，要求蓝图的声音可能还要更大。这些人可不会在要求蓝图的言论中拿那几个游戏给自己套盾。操作页比起
Copying guides compared to dodging by yourself is the single fastest way to delete fun gameplay. 100% agree. Why is there so many people who need to copy blueprints? Because they don't put the effort in themselves. Yeah. Oh, holy shit. That is the greatest. Oh, that is the greatest metaphor I've ever seen. Like, oh man. Like, yeah, some people want to go through the effort of cooking and eating, like cooking, seasoning, sous vide, making the perfect steak, right? Some people, everyone wants to do that, but sometimes you just cannot be fucked and you want the fast food option. You want the quick, easy dopamine hit of get in, get out for 5 minutes, get your shit done, and just have fun. Oh! Oh, CN is cooking!
He's absolutely right in saying that blueprints would be an atrocious idea, and
100%. Oh, actually, blueprints for bases? I thought you meant blueprints more as in, like, maybe it's like a bad translation to, like, videos. Blueprints I can see both positives and negatives for. Enfield's being developed by the company that is literally don't follow the current Gacha. Yeah, I know, but you also got to understand the amount of money Enfield costs is bigger than any other project they've ever done before. So there is much more financial risk in making a product like this. They have to conform and have some level of meeting midway, because if they don't, the investor's going to be knocking on their door, right? That's just the harsh truth of the matter, right? So there's some level of compromise somewhere. I think we're seeing it in kind of just it being a weird mesh of what we want it to be one or the other. But yeah, until we get this next beta or full release, it's hard to say exactly what the compromise will be. I still believe in the notion of Arknights is the company who will tell you to kick rocks if you want it to be a boring baby game. But they still have, you still understand there is a business that runs this and there's some compromise that needs to be had. right? I think the greatest example is like CG Projekt Red, Witcher, right? Made one of the greatest gaming series of eternity, right? It'll be looked back on until human extinction as like one of the greatest RPGs ever made. Remember Cyberpunk? It wasn't up to them to release it early, unfinished, and just completely fucked, right? But they were pressured because the people with the money funding that project have different ambitions and loyalties lie elsewhere, in their pockets versus in the actual consumers, right? Same thing can be said about every product ever, okay? So that's something always worth considering, the business aspect of a game like this too, because this is easily I would assume, anywhere between $60 to $130 million game. I would say, at least, if I was to ballpark it. High trust in them rather than the rest of the company. Oh no, I 100% agree. Griffline and Kuro Games are like my joint two most ever gacha companies. Everything other than those two, very, very dodgy. But I think Blueprint's also fast food. Like, yes, I agree, and it would suck. But there's got to be some compromise, because if people aren't playing a game, then they're not spending money, and we've got to see where that compromise will be. It doesn't justify such feature come on the basis of limited with Grid Square. Yeah, it again, like, there's so many like catch-22s with everything here. It's going to be hard to see what they do. I don't think they add blueprints, but I think they will add like schematics of how many of X, Y, and Z machine you need to get it running efficiently. And it won't tell you where to put them. It will just tell you what you need, this, that, and the other, and it gives you the quick split numbers. So you just can turn your brain off, go to be like, all right, I do this, I put them all right next to each other, I put quick conveyor belts, and then I'm done, right? Versus actually doing the mental gymnastics of I need 3 of these, 2 of those, 8 of these, storage containers here, this, that, there, and then just go GG next.
If they'd been present in the beta, the
monetize a
video
blueprint,
would be
make
sunshine
it
and
pay to
rainbows
play.
compared
That's
to the
kind
doom
of
posting I'd be
fucking
doing in
based.
that timeline. But what I think his point of view misses is the fact that with Arknights, Hypergryph have been consistently reluctant to add any features that could be considered as the game playing itself or making decisions for you.
Very good.
It has never once had an autoplay button. You have to choose where to deploy your operators and when to activate their skills yourself, and only then do you get to auto-deploy. Likewise, in Endfield, their way of addressing the complaints about the factory was not to add blueprints, but instead to add loads of tutorials and a more intuitive top-down interface.
I will say, since I knew it was a beta and nothing gets saved, playing those tutorials, man, I quit after like 4 because it's like, I get how it all works. I'll wait till the actual beta release to get all these done. Because they also do give you a random. So it's worth considering doing like 40 tutorials gives you like close to a temple or like half a temple or something like that.
The core design philosophy of do-it-yourself remains just as clear, which is why I don't think pre-made blueprints will be added anytime soon, let alone the ability to copy them from other players. But nonetheless, he is right. Those demands for blueprints will grow louder and louder because gacha players only want to eat fast food, the meal without the responsibility of cooking it. And to build on the analogy further, fast food might be convenient and tasty, but if you grow accustomed to it, serious health implications aside, cooking your own food will start to feel like a chore. Hypergryph have said they consider the infrastructure and automation to be the focus of the game, explicitly citing games like Factorio and Dyson Sphere Program as successful examples. But those games have an innate filter in having an upfront cost. Free-to-play gacha games do not have that barrier to entry, and they are surrounded by this bizarre culture of people playing multiple games they may not even like playing, while simultaneously demanding those games make it easier for them to maintain their account. In my years of playing Arknights, I have seen what Hypergryph can cook. They are not afraid to experiment, but it would be delusional to say they have never faltered before. If the game wants gacha players to enjoy the base, they need to change their expectations of the game, and they will not do that unless the game forces them to. If anyone is capable of squaring this circle of sticking to their guns while maintaining mass appeal, it is Hypergryph. But accessibility must not undermine identity. Arknights Endfield advertises itself as a real-time 3D RPG with strategic elements, and in China as a 3D real-time strategy RPG.
See, that's the issue I'm having, man. Like that just kind of breeds into the insecurities of this game is going to try and be a Genshin or Wuwa with its own twist mechanic, whereas Wuwa's much more punishing or like perfect dodge focused, and this game's going to be much more like skill based. And by skill based, I literally mean like the actual skill stack, skill swap combo, like execution kind of stuff. Like, I don't like that that's the main advertisement like wording, right? That's like my concern. Like the fact that this is the secondary is the biggest issue there is here. Tobo still overestimates the amount of brainwave expectation that the game force people isn't just going to lead to more complaints. Yeah, but again, it's like you have to kind of filter through the complaints and realize, are these people even the target for our game? And I think that's kind of what the investors or like the people who do like the advertisements and the marketing for it don't kind of see. Because like if they did, I feel like we wouldn't have got the dodge the way we got it in the first beta, the second closed test behind the alpha.
Real-time 3D RPG with strategic elements, and in China as a 3D real-time strategy RPG. Personally, I just think the gameplay should lean more into that. After the technical test, I hoped it would be slow, calculated, and stubborn, but Hypergryph made it fast, impulsive, and forgiving. That doesn't mean I think games with dodging are bad. But I have seen other communities become jaded, only able to sit and watch the obliviating drift of their beloved games towards an audience that has never cared. I have watched longtime fans of Monster Hunter resent the direction of Monster Hunter Wilds, ditching the necessity of positioning, anticipation, and commitment in favor of hitting a pinata.
The crashout section? Oh god.
Removing so many of those.
Alright, boys, lock in. If you haven't locked in already, please like Tobo's video as well as like mine. This is where apparently it's going to get spicy.
Going straight to the outcome because gamers don't understand why that decision was there in the first place. I have watched so many Endfield alpha and beta testers openly demonstrate they have precisely zero understanding of why some features and mechanics simply wouldn't work in Endfield, only able to draw upon experiences from some combination of Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, Zenless Zone Zero, Wuthering Waves, end of list. Openly stating they have no interest in the Arknights IP whatsoever and just want yet another iteration of the same game while consistently pretending to care about the game's success.
This is in the, I guarantee this is in the creator server. Oh man. Oh, this is such a mess. I think that like when the Arknights alpha test or beta test was out, there was a creator server for people had beta access to talk. There are some takes in there that you do question, like seriously, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, they love anime. They love Yvonne because she's built the way she's built. But they want Genshin. They want the Genshin ult swap, GG.
You might have heard a quote attributed to one of the lead designers of the Civ series that gamers will optimize the fun out of a game if given the option to, even if it ruins their experience of the game. But no other subculture of video games, not a single one, will not only ask for that option before the game is even
and
out,
then say want to
openly
succeed.
ask for the literal backbone of the game to be removed just because they don't personally like it. Do you open Balatro and complain about deck building? Do you open Portal and complain about solving puzzles? If you complain that modern games don't try anything new, then shame them for doing so while rewarding the opposite. I hate to break this to you, but you are the problem. And if you start playing Arknights Endfield and you complain about the infrastructure and the factory, the very things that make it Arknights Endfield, that applies to you. Just make everything Genshin Impact! Big game always means better game. I'm not seeing enough movement. Put more shit on the screen. More big numbers, more random colors, more stupid bullshit.
Amen!
What is depth you speak of? Or if farming's the only gameplay that matters, just make my waifu look cool when I press E and Q and take my money. Look at how cool the animation is. Time to build pity. Let's go gambling. Please win? No save. Only win. What do you mean building pity isn't a thing? All my friends build pity. Obviously it's a thing, you fucking idiot. What is this Factorio shit? I don't have that kind of autism. I have the kind with no self-awareness or social skills whatsoever. Wow, chat. Look. Boobs. Absolute cinema. Take all my money. What do you mean they slightly reduced Nicole's boob size? What do you mean I can't see Cantarella's camel toe anymore? This is preposterous. The Chinese Communist Party won't let me masturbate. Video game? What the fuck is one of those? Just make it easier to maintain my account so I can continue to not play the games I've built my entire personality around. Gacha games should do nothing but compete for my attention by replacing every UI element with Subway Surfers and Family Guy funny moments because my childhood cognitive development died the moment my parents decided to raise me with a fucking iPad. Sorry about the attention span, take 3 big booms to make you feel better. Don't even give me a gacha game, just give me a virtual baby playmat instead, where I can hit random objects while shitting my pants and crying about anniversary rewards. Because if I'm totally honest with myself, that's all I really want. Not a handcrafted experience by passionate game designers or a fun challenge to overcome. I just want a distraction. Something to keep me occupied so I don't accidentally start...
This, just keep in mind, guys. Keep in mind, this is what 2 sees every single day. He opens his computers, plays fucking 36 gacha games, whilst also having Family Guy funny moments in the corner. Oh, man. I don't know how that man fucking does it, but Jesus Christ. Oh my god! I didn't mean for him to catch a stray. I'm just saying this is the first thing I thought of all the fucking 86 things on my screen with Gacha. Oh yeah.
Contemplating my meaningless existence on this godforsaken earth. Now just take one moment to seriously ask yourself, who is more deranged here? Me for crashing out in a YouTube video for your entertainment, or you for logging into 50 billion gacha games every fucking day that you don't even like playing, while having the audacity to demand every single one of those games respects your time when you don't even respect your own? I don't want Arknights Endfield to be filled with people who don't even want to play Arknights Endfield!
Fair. That's all I gotta say, really. Like,
felt good to get that off my chest.
He's laughing. Yeah, he's in denial. Not denial. You get to a level of crash out, we have to start laughing at yourself because how insane you fucking sound. I know this all too well, my brother.
G-Cores ends with this paragraph. Innovation is no longer just a creator's aspiration for their own work. It's something the market increasingly demands. Simply improving production standards is no longer enough to satisfy today's players. So whether you want to or not, if you aim to achieve something in the current market, you must create something that is uniquely yours. On paper, this sounds great. In their own words, they want to innovate and create something unique. But we must not judge merely based on words. We should be judging actions, because actions have consequences. When scores of gacha gamers who don't want good games and just want a babysitter are all now suddenly very excited about Enfield's new direction, I find that to be kind of alarming. So I voiced a dissenting opinion. What better time to voice that criticism than while the game is still in development, when it can still make important changes?
Yep, that was the death knell. That was the nuke he dropped.
That being said, I have cherished Arknights for this long for good reason. I look forward to finding out what they've been doing since the beta, because if they make the right decisions before release, then on my life I will become the world's #1 hypergrifter. Full turbo glaze, no brakes. I would be delighted to live in that timeline. But until then, I remain patient. When the servers open, I will be there no matter what. Ready to know life Arknights Endfield, ready to experience everything it has to offer. I just hope I will also be ready to cherish it for years to come.
God, he's got such a way with words. It's actually insane, man. I cannot do scripted content. That's not entirely another conversation, but inherently this video, insane W. Tob, my guy, you're speaking absolute facts. And I just want to really quickly loop back to like him saying all the Gacha gamers that are going to be playing this, you know, they're all only know 3 things, and it's like hoyoverse, Kuro, and Honkai Star sub game, if you want to class that separately, right? I just want to say, I know, there's a slim chance he probably saw me say some things about the dodging. I want to say I probably was wrong back then. I was just tilted at the fact. And again, this felt more like, again, like an extended cut of his original video, just kind of explaining this is not the direction we should go in. I still have issues with the dodging, though. The dodging is the problem, okay? The dodge, the dodge red light timing and the sound queuing. Can we address that real quick? That's such a goddamn problem. That's all I want to say. But everything else, I 100% agree with. I think it is worth considering these games are not meant to be main games, right? I think you scripted all that except for the crash out part. I think I would ad-lib that crash out 100%. If you are scripting that and reading that with that much proficiency in real time, that's impressive, brother. But, as I said, gacha games aren't necessarily meant to be main games. They're not meant to be games that you play first and foremost. The genre can be the thing that you play first and foremost, definitely 100% true. But you need to also consider that after you get through the main grind of a new patch, or the game launching 10 minutes a day tops before you start running out of shit to do, right? After you complete the map. With that being said, you get lulled into this false sense of you wanting to just breeze through and just get this shit done and forget about it, right? I'm only saying this because I'm not in the clear and never done this. I've done this myself. You just get complacent. And there's only so much you can do in a gacha game or a live service game with a 6-week patch cycle that can keep you occupied until you start to realize there's nothing really left to do and you fall into this false sense of this game's boring, it needs changes. But by then, it's because you already got given what you wanted, which was the easy gameplay to begin with. So the tiny gameplay you play each day is now null and void because you wanted the fucking Genshin Impact Crybaby game, right? This is much more of a video on the direction it's heading with what they're trying to do and what the voices of the communities are saying. I understand that. I understand the dodge is more just a small nitpick of. Oh, no, it's a small problem of a bigger issue. Try Arknights and get stuck in a boss stage for 5 hours. Yeah. Well, we did some IS5 runs, right? That was really fun to do on stream. I got punished like fuck because I didn't know, right? But I was enjoying getting absolutely fucking creamed. Terrible choice it was. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is, I am of a very similar opinion to Tobo. I obviously mechanically have a different view for the game, or not a different view, but like I'm probably more accepting of whether we like it or not. People who do not like Arknights Endfield are going to be playing Arknights Endfield, but the best we can do is have a middle ground where they can still play it, tolerate it, and we get what we want and very much enjoy it, and the game is financially successful. The more money this game makes, the better it is for the end consumer. That's the best way to put it. But yeah, as I said, if you guys don't know, I'm going to show you a real quick tweet, okay? Super hot fire tweet. You guys got to be careful, okay? Boom. Keep this in mind, okay? I had a dream. I have a dream. And it will become a reality, okay? I'm going to keep it at that. But boys, if you enjoyed this video, please, and I've said it 1,000 times, please go subscribe to Tobo. I keep saying Tobo. Why do I keep doing that? Go subscribe to Tobo. Absolute W content. Amazing creator. Wears his heart in his sleeve. And I am like the retired Arknights guy. I'm a retired Gacha guy right now. My content is very few and far between. But hey, real life is busy. I should be back soon. All right. So yeah, if you enjoyed what you watched, let me know. And we stream twice a week, Thursdays and Sundays, or Tuesdays and Sunday, whenever we can. Always a Sunday. And all the links will be in the description. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with my takes or Tobo's takes, or agree with them. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye now.